Hello and welcome to the In the Pen podcast, a podcast about relievers, part of the Pitcher List podcast network. My name is Jake Crumpler, and as always, I'm joined by Pitcher List's bullpen expert, Rick. How's it going? My question for you today is, how many ballparks have you been to? And are you one of those people who's, what's it called? When you write a list, a bucket list, is it on your bucket list to go to all of them?
Not to go to all of them. That's a big task. It would be awesome. That would be super fun. It was at one time something I had planned, but then financially it's probably take a lot. But on the East Coast, I want to at least do the East Coast, and it's funny you bring it up because I went to Yankee Stadium for the first time yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun to see the Yankees poop all over Cade Cavalli in the third inning.
That's my boy now.
Cavalli?
Yeah, because my girlfriend's
that's right.
Sister, half sister, is married to somebody in Cade Cavalli's family. So now I'm a big Cade Cavalli fan.
Yeah, I mean, I have him in NL Tout. I was hoping for a decent start just to survive. But yeah, still fun. It's a cool stadium, obviously. All the history there. So yeah, I've been there. I've been to the Rangers' new stadium. But then other than that, it's Yankee Stadium. I've been to Citi Field, obviously Fenway a bunch, being in Boston. Is that it? That doesn't seem right. No, I was in Baltimore and Washington this year. I went to the Camden's, obviously. That's probably one of my favorites so far, out of town ballpark. The place is really cool. And yeah, Washington was pretty nice too. It's not in the city in Washington. It's kind of a little set out apart, but it's a nice little atmosphere out there.
Okay, so that's 6. That's pretty solid. I definitely want to see all of them. I'm not going to do it on like one road trip or something, but at some point, like, I've got a long life ahead of me where I'm going to have to just visit ballparks while I'm in those towns. So far, I've been to Giant Stadium, both of the A's stadiums, been to the Rockies Stadium, and I think I'm already running out of them. I went to like a minor league game in Texas before for the Frisco Rough Riders. I've been in their stadium. It was actually the off season. There was no game going on, and I can't think of any. I've been outside Wrigley Field in the off season as well. I think that's it. I haven't been to that many parks. What is that, 3?
Yeah. Ted brings up a good point. Pittsburgh, I've heard so many good things about Pittsburgh's ballpark, and that's definitely, being someone on the East Coast, that's one of the ones I really want to see. And yeah, if I could see Skeens while being there, that would be a plus too. But yeah, that'll be a fun, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe Philly as well at that point, and kind of knock off 2 more East Coast ballparks.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've been to any others, and I can't think of any others that I've been to. That's sort of disappointing, but also exciting because there's so many more for me to go see. So at some point, I'm going to have to do that, start checking them off. Luckily, my girlfriend does like baseball a little bit, not nearly as much as we do. She doesn't have a podcast or anything, but she did say yesterday, she was talking about some podcast that she listens to in the morning, and she called it My Podcast. She goes, well, I got to be careful calling it that because now I have a boyfriend that like actually has a podcast. So I can't say my podcast. A bit confusing.
A little bit. Yeah.
Right. I thought it was funny. But anyway, we're here to talk about relief pitchers. Today, we're going to be running over the news, injuries, and transactions from the past week as usual. Then we'll head into our 3 up, 3 down section where we discuss the closers rising and falling on Rick's closer ranks. And then we'll head into our main topic and discuss some second half risers, some of the top performing relief pitchers in the second half after the All-Star break. We'll focus on more under the radar names, not just talk about all the closers or guys that we talk about every single week, so we can get some new guys on our radar. But let's kick things off with the news. And this one is not really fantasy related, but still relief pitcher related, as the BBWAA, the Baseball Writers Association of America, has voted to begin awarding the American League and National League Relief Pitcher of the Year award starting in 2026. That news confused me at first. Rick, can you explain to our listeners what that really means?
Yeah, so basically, obviously there was a reliever award, for the past few years, I don't know how many years, for a while now.
Right.
But that was not voted on by the baseball writers like the Cy Young is or MVP is. That was voted on, which I thought was cool. I didn't even know this. It was voted on by a bunch of ex-relievers, like a panel of ex-relievers. I think it's something like 5 or 6 maybe. I don't know how they are picked or who they are, but it's kind of a cool way to do it, having, and got me thinking, like, what it feels like, something that, like, instead of like these old, like, let's be honest, like the Baseball Writers Association, that's like probably the same average age as like Congress. Those dudes are old.
Yeah.
They're a little out of touch. It would feel better having like ex-players. And especially if you get like a variety of ages, like have a guy who was recently retired and have, someone who's been away for a while, have a little mix. That I feel like I would rather be judged on those guys than, like, I don't care about being judged by, some guy writing for the New York Post or whatever. It's like, who cares? But that's how it's been. And there's, I really don't like rewards, but there is something to it because there's a monetary, factor to it where
right.
starter or a lot of contracts have like escalators where you finish in the top 5 and MVP, you get this type of bonus. So it's when you think about it, like these writers determining like how some guys get like earn bonuses and like some of their pay, it's kind of crazy to think about. But that's something with this reliever award now. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be, contracts that say, hey, if you finish in the top 5 in the BBWA reliever voting, then you get a bonus. But what are these guys? What are these guys going to base the, like, it's going to be, and like deservingly so, like Carlos Estevez deserves to be like considered in that, but it's like, it's going to be a lot of, just looking at save totals. I feel it's going to be save totals, and
you don't think that's what it was with the retired relievers?
That's yeah, I know, because that probably was. I don't know. I don't know who they were or what they like the demographic and age was of the retired relievers. But yeah, if it's a reliever award, I want it to be more than saves. It's like, there's more to being a reliever. It's even if you want to look at ERA, whip, and like a strikeout rate, that's fine if you want to keep it to that. But yeah, just like there should be, if you want to do like a separate, but just naming the saves leader, the reliever of the year, like we don't need any voting on that if that's what we're going to do. It's just like, so hopefully there's a little bit more taken into consideration. I was listening to some people talk about how like they don't think it's even needed because like, there's an MVP, but there's not like a MVP per position. So it's like if there's a Cy Young, then, that kind of encapsulates relievers because it's not like yeah, you know what I mean? So
no, I don't know, because for me it's like the Cy Young is to the MVP what the reliever of the year award is to the Cy Young, where it's like, yeah, a reliever can win the Cy Young, but also a starter can win the MVP. It just never happens.
True. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
relievers are people too, and they have a different role just because they're not.
There's so many of them too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they need some recognition.
What's wrong with more rewards? I love the awards. Like adding the all MLB teams at the end of the year, I think was a great idea too. So I'm all for rewarding as many people as possible and just giving everybody all the accomplishments. Obviously, we don't want participation trophies. That makes a certain generation frustrated, but definitely all for recognizing the most dominant players at each position, and whether that be with significant awards like this or just with the all MLB team, I think is up for debate, but I think we've had this award for so long that I think we got to keep going with it. I just remembered I went to the Twins Stadium. That's 4.
That's right. Is that where you got that Prince?
That's right. It was Prince night. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Purple's my favorite color. I got this
jersey sick. Yeah.
Purple Twins. Yeah. It's dope. Yeah. I got a Bananas jersey at the Bananas game I went to a couple weeks ago. So I'm going to show up to First Pitch Arizona with just a whole slew of dope jerseys.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. All right. Now we'll head into our injuries, starting with Bennett Sousa of the Astros, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a low-grade elbow flexor / pronator strain. He won't throw for at least another week and a half, as when the news came out, they said he wouldn't throw for a couple weeks. So Sousa's probably not going to start throwing until after the first week of September. Craig Kimbrell signed a major league contract with the Astros in a corresponding move and has been immediately thrust into action for the club. But Sousa had a great season prior to this injury, 2.84 ERA and a 30% strikeout rate across 50 2/3 innings, recording 4 saves and 7 holds. Right now, his season is sort of up in the air. I do feel like he's probably going to be back at least for the playoffs, but right now the Astros are without one of their top relievers.
Yeah, and it's the Astros, so who knows what this injury really is or means, or what the timeline is, but it does that does sound like the way they're talking about it. It's like it's similar to the Josh Hader situation, where they're just hoping to have them hit Sousa and Hader both healthy for that first playoff series. Which again, it's August 28th. We're getting close there. So if you shut down for a week and a half, I mean, yeah, it's you get a couple weeks to ramp up. So we might see both of them, Sousa, Hader. Maybe they get a couple outings late September, last week of the season, but for fantasy purposes this year, they're probably safe to drop. And so, yeah, Sousa was. I thought once Hader went down, Abreu might share that closer role with Sousa, just them being so left-handed heavy, and having Sousa in the ninth, it gives Abreu some wiggle room to face tough right-handed pockets of the lineup. But yeah, Sousa now being down, so they're really only trusted relievers are Abreu, King, and Oker at the moment, right? So still 2 lefties, but I think this helps Abreu's case to stick in the closer role, and getting the ball to him is going to that's the question now. And yeah, Craig Kimbrell, we'll see what he's got left. Not sure what type of impact he has, but I don't imagine it's going to be anything fantasy relevant, even in holds leagues. So yeah, for now it's, they're just hanging on to suit, that back end of Oker, Abreu, and King, and hopefully none of those guys wind up on the IL in September.
Yeah, Astros dealing with a lot of injuries this year. They're lucky to have just gotten back Yordan Alvarez to offset the injuries in the bullpen. Next, we'll discuss Reed Garrett, who's placed on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. Jose Castillo was selected from the minors in a corresponding move. The Mets bullpen is super deep following their active trade deadline, but Garrett has been a key member of the bullpen all year, with, I think, the most holds on the team that were recorded with the Mets solely, because they obviously have Tyler Rogers and Gregory Soto, who have more holds than Garrett, but Garrett has 20 holds that he recorded all with the Mets, and he's been solid this year. 3.61 ERA, 28% strikeout rate across 52 1/3 innings pitched. So I don't think there's going to be a ton of movement in the bullpen, since he had sort of fallen down the ladder with all of the injury activations and trade acquisitions. But nonetheless, tough blow to the Mets bullpen for a club that's fighting tooth and nail to get a good spot in the postseason.
Yeah, now all of a sudden the right-handed depth here is also kind of thin. With Ryan Helsley's been terrible since he got there.
Gosh. Yeah,
I got an update like 10 minutes ago on my computer showing that they think Helsley's tipping his pitches, so they're working on that with him.
That would make sense.
Yeah, because he's been terrible. Tyler Rogers has been fine, so they got Tyler Rogers, but now it's after Diaz and Rogers, it's Helsley, and Ryan Stanek's been pretty bad as well. So Garrett's a big loss for them. hopefully elbow inflammation. You never know how long it's going to be, but yeah, that's someone that they would need to rely upon in the postseason, unless Helsley and Stanek can figure things out here. But if it's just a tipping pitch thing, pitch tipping thing with Helsley, that's probably fixable. But I don't know. We've seen those types of things linger, and guys just not be able to figure it out before. So we'll see.
Yeah, I have faith in Helsley since he's been good for the past few years. So hopefully it's not an injury thing, because that's something that's much harder to fix than tip pitching or pitch tipping.
I know. It gets me too.
I got to get more sleep. All right. Next, we got Randy Rodriguez of the Giants, who was placed on the 15-day IL with an elbow sprain. He's had a great season for the Giants. Not only did he have a breakout campaign during which he pitched with sub-2 ERA with a 34% strikeout rate that earned him an all-star appearance this year, but he also took over the closer role following the deadline trade of Camilo Doval to the Yankees. Rodriguez didn't get too many save opportunities, only getting up to 4 on the year, but now his season is in jeopardy, as at this stage of the season for a young pitcher to have an elbow injury for a team that's out of the postseason race, there's really no reason for the Giants to rush him back. So with Rodriguez out, Keaton Winn was recalled from the minors to join that bullpen, but Ryan Walker is expected to take over as the Giants closer, finishing the season where he started it in the 9th inning.
Right. Yeah. It's just completely come full circle in San Francisco. And yeah, I don't think Randy Rodriguez needs to be held. I mean, if you have an IL spot, sure. But if you don't, I don't think you need to hang on to him, because I'm not so sure, even if he does come back, if Ryan Walker gives up that job. Walker's been the better pitcher since July, and yeah, he started the season in the role. I just don't see a reason for them to switch back to Rodriguez. Next year is a different story. I think that's more of a conversation. If they were both healthy going into spring training, we might have competition there. But yeah, he's had a bit of an injury, history. So hopefully this doesn't linger into the off season and into next season. Hopefully it's minor. But yeah, it was, just thinking about this Giants bullpen in general, like there was a lot of hype around this bullpen, like in the beginning of the season.
Right.
And now we're down to just Ryan Walker and Jose Butto, Matt Gage, Spencer Bidens.
Guys that were not in the bullpen before the season.
So this went from like the best bullpen in April to now, just, Ryan Walker and a bunch of guys who are up and down, 4A players pretty much. So,
right.
Joel Peguero is pretty fun. That could be interesting, but other than that, it's a lot of disappointment here in San Francisco.
Definitely. Speaking of the Giants, their rivals also had a significant IL placement, as Alex Vesia was placed on the 15-day IL with an oblique strain. Oblique strains can be tough. Oftentimes they take a while to recover from, so it's possible Vesia misses the rest of the season. I am pretty confident that he'll probably be back for the postseason, and that's not because I have any insider information. I just feel like the Dodgers are going to make sure that he's back for the postseason. But they did get some reinforcements prior to Vesia's IL placement, as Tanner Scott was activated from the 15-day IL after missing more than a month with elbow inflammation. Matt Sauer was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move to Scott's activation. And they also returned Kirby Yates from the IL after he missed a trio of weeks with lower back pain. Scott got a save in just his second outing, so it looks like he's going to be the closer, but I think the Dodgers are going to take it easy on him, as they didn't let him go back-to-back for a save opportunity on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think with Vesia, it's a bit of Dodgeritis, right? It's
totally.
Probably it looks like they don't want any of their relievers to hit the 60 inning mark. I mean, like Ben Kasparius is different because he's made starts and whatnot, but I think they want to keep everyone like under 60 innings going into October, and then hope that everyone's got 10 or whatever, how many innings they need left. So Yeah, again, this bullpen still hasn't been at full strength. We haven't seen what they can do at full strength. We don't know how roles are going to play out full strength, but with Scott back, he'll get the majority of saves, and then I'm sure, like you said, Blake Treinen might, factor into a few. Edgardo Henriquez has been pitching really well for them too. It's nice to see him getting back-to-back holds this week. If he can stay healthy, that's a huge upside, arm for them that they probably weren't really counting on to give them much this year. Maybe more of a wild card, for them. So, but this bullpen, if they can get fully healthy, I mean, they can rival almost anyone outside of the Padres when it comes to, bullpen strength in the postseason. But, still a lot of question marks. Still that bullpen, like every week we come back and talk about the injured guys in that Dodgers bullpen, and there's still like a really bullpen to be had with the injured Dodger bullpen and Dodger relievers.
Totally.
Vezina, Stewart, Kopech, Phillips, Gratterall. That's a good bullpen right there.
Definitely. All right, next we've got Trevor Megill, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a grade 1 flexor strain. Eric Fedde signed a major league contract in a corresponding move, but this is a huge blow to the Brewers bullpen, especially because flexor strains can be difficult to return from. I did read that Megill is confident that he's going to be back in the minimum, if not just around the minimum time. So he may miss only a couple of weeks, but that would be a pretty fast comeback for somebody returning from a flexor strain. Luckily, it is the lowest grade, but big blow to the Brewers bullpen, especially because Megill had been pitching so well recently. With Megill out, Abner Uribe will be the Brewers closer moving forward, but this is definitely going to test the depth of that Brewers bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, going from Uribe to Megill in the 8th and 9th, now it's maybe Shelby Miller and Nick Mears in the 8th to Uribe. Yeah, it shortens everything up. All of a sudden the Brewers bullpen is a little bit more questionable. Yeah, I also don't believe, just because Trevor Megill is saying he's going to be back in 15 days. That seems like a stretch. I want to see what their doctors, what someone in management says about that, because I don't imagine that's the plan. Probably middle of September. I think the goal obviously here is just to make sure he's ready to go for October. And even that could be a bit sketchy. And again, Megill's another guy who's had the reason why he's breaking out at 31. He's had a lot of injury issues in the past. I hope he's able to get back in time. I love watching Megill pitch. He's been awesome this season, but I don't think it's going to be a minimum stay. So Uribe needs to be rostered everywhere.
Of course.
I mean, he's like a top 5 closer the rest of the way.
Dope. All right. Our last IL placement involves Graham Ashcraft, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a forearm strain that could put an end to his season. He's had a great breakout campaign. We've been waiting years for him to be placed in the bullpen, and it finally paid off. 3.72 ERA across 58 innings with 17 holds for Graham Ashcraft. The corresponding move to his IL placement was indirect, but Zach Maxwell is going to join that bullpen. He had his contract selected from the minors. Maxwell's a 24-year-old right-handed pitcher. He's 6'6", 275 pounds, and he throws absolute gas, and he's got a dope nickname, as Zach Maxwell has the nickname Big Sugar. Definitely an interesting name in that bullpen. And the Reds honestly have an interesting bullpen heading into 2026. But what type of impact do you think Maxwell can have this year?
The issue with Maxwell, it's always been the issue with Maxwell, is the walk rates. The walk rates have been terrible. Every level of the minors. But yeah, big strikeout rates, and he's already started off pretty hot with a 42% strikeout rate already. So as far as like between him and like Luis May, I feel like Maxwell's got more strikeout upside. But yeah, the walks are going to be the thing. And sometimes we see relievers come up and their walk rates don't match what they were in the minors. They get better. They're under 10%. We'll see with Maxwell. Give it some time. But yeah, very interesting reliever. If he finishes the year strong too, I mean, there's an opening for the closer role there next year, and he is like the prototype closer.
Yeah, Jonathan Broxton 2.0.
Yeah, just a huge dude throwing gas. Great nickname. So yeah, a lot of fun upside here of Maxwell if he can get that role for next season.
Totally. All right, that will wrap up our injuries. And before we head into discussing some transactions, we're going to take a quick break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen discussing relievers. We just wrapped up the injuries. Now we'll discuss a few transactions, starting with Robert Stephenson, who was activated from the 60-day IL after missing nearly 3 months with biceps inflammation. It's been a tough couple of years for Robert Stephenson ever since he joined the Angels. He's been unable to stay healthy. Now he's back, one of our favorite relievers before all these injuries because of the breakout he had in the second half of 2023 with the Rays. We were hoping Stephenson would be able to establish himself in Anaheim, but he's been unable to do so. Now he's back pitching for the Angels. What type of fantasy impact do you think he can have? How quickly do you think he can rise up this bullpen? Or do you think Stephenson's more of a 2026 play?
I'm hoping there's some sort of upside here this season. His first 2 outings since coming back, the velo has been down. I mean, he was 98 miles per hour that one outing he had prior to going back on the IL. He's been around 95, 96 since coming back, which is it's okay. It's not going to lead to 2023 Robert Stephenson. But yeah, I'd hopefully see some of the velo. The velo needs to come back a little bit. See some more of that swing and miss. Just see him stay healthy for the rest of the year. I think that's the start. It's just finish the year strong, have a normal off season, and then hopefully, now again, Angels have a wide open. There's so many teams that have closer openings next year. But Angels, that Stephenson's going to be the guy getting paid to be a potential closer there. So he could put his name in the ring if he finishes strong and just stays healthy pretty much.
They're going to have a really interesting bullpen next year. We'll talk about some of the other guys that have had really good seasons and really good second halves, but they'll also get Ben Joyce back at some point next year. I know he got Tommy John, right? So it's going to be pretty late.
Was it Tommy John or was it why can't I
he's already beginning a throwing program in a month.
Yeah.
Shoulder surgery.
He should be okay for the start of the season, but with him, I don't know if he'll ever be like healthy. Just so he literally throws too hard. So we'll see if we ever get 50 plus innings out of him in a season. That would be a miracle, honestly. But yeah, it's obviously fun to hope on the guy, and just the best case scenario, he is one of the better closers in baseball.
Definitely. The Yankees got some reinforcements for their bullpen, activating Fernando Cruz from the 15-day IL. He missed nearly 2 months with an oblique strain, and so that's why I talked earlier about the oblique strain to Vesia, possibly keeping him out for the season. It kept Fernando Cruz out for 2 months. Yeah. In a corresponding move, Yerry De Los Santos was optioned to the minors, but Cruz re-enters a bullpen that looks much different than prior to his injury, as they not only added David Bednar, but they also got Camilo Doval and some other guys that they got Jake Bird. He's not even in the majors, but nonetheless, Fernando Cruz was dominant prior to the injury. 2.94 ERA, 41% strikeout rate. Do you think he's going to factor into high leverage situations? He has already recorded a hold, but there's plenty of names ahead of him in this bullpen.
I know. I think the only of the new guys that have come over, since the trade deadline, I think only Bednar should be ahead of him. I feel like he should be ahead of Doval at this point, as far as holds go. I think he's probably they're still so deep. He's probably like a 6th inning setup guy for them.
That's crazy.
When everyone's healthy. I mean, Devin Williams has been so good lately. Luke Weaver also been really good in August. And then Bednar. So I feel like Cruz with this bullpen healthy at best is like a 6th inning guy, but he should knock, Doval out of that role. Doval's been shaky. even before New York, he was starting to show some signs of some regression. So yeah, I mean, Cruz's strikeout upside makes him worth a look in holds leagues until we figure out, what his actual role is. But yeah, like you said, he already has a hold, first day off the IL. So that's a good sign, obviously.
Definitely. All right, our last transaction involves the Yankees' rivals as Justin Slayton was activated from the 60-day IL by the Red Sox. He missed nearly 3 months with shoulder inflammation. Giovanni Moran was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move, and I think Slayton should probably factor right into some high leverage situations. The Red Sox bullpen isn't super deep and it does lack a lot of upside, in my opinion. And Slayton is somebody that in the past and earlier this year was entrusted with high leverage situations. He did record 3 saves in 23 and a third innings prior to his injury. Do you think he's the 8th inning guy, or is he just going to slot in as like the 6th, 7th inning guy behind Garrett Whitlock?
Yeah, I think for now they'll keep Whitlock kind of as that 8th. But the thing with Whitlock is that obviously there's more versatility with where he pitches and how many innings he can go. Ideally, if Slayton is healthy and looks like the guy from last season, he is your 8th inning guy, and then you can use Whitlock and other situations, or you can use you can mix and match a little bit, but at least gives them some length. It gives them another right-handed option because like Weisert's been fine. I don't know how much you can trust him, moving forward, especially in high leverage spots. From the left side, they're fine with Justin Wilson and Steven Matz, and obviously Chapman is the closer. But yeah, Slayton and Whitlock, that's a huge key for them. Jordan Hicks gave them nothing. He's been useless. Yeah. I know. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully Walker Buehler has something. Maybe I'm interested to see if they can shorten him down to like 1 inning stints if that does anything. But
was that last year or the year before that he was like pitching out of the bullpen in the playoffs for the
Dodgers? last year he closed out the Yankees. Closed out the World Series. So
that's right. Yeah. So he can still be good.
Got a little history there. Yeah. So we'll see. I forgot about Buehler being added to the bullpen, but I'm gonna give him some time before adding him to any holds lists.
Right. All right. Well, that will wrap up our injuries, news, and transactions from the past week. Now we'll head into the 3 up, 3 down section where we discuss the closers rising and falling on Rick's weekly closer ranks. We'll start off with the risers, beginning with Pete Fairbanks, who will have some more time to go in depth on him later as he's had an incredible second half. But what makes Pete Fairbanks a riser for you this week?
Yeah, I mean it's funny because he just blew a save like last night, was it, or 2 nights ago? But I'm still he's been one of the best closers since the All-Star break. 35% strikeout minus walk rate, leads all closers. That's since the All-Star break. So that's the Pete Fairbanks we've always talked about and dreamed about. And like when we're excited about Pete Fairbanks, it's this version of him. So it's good to see him finally, missing bats again at a high rate. And yeah, we talked about like the Rays bullpen a couple weeks ago. But now we didn't really even include like Fairbanks. And now like if Fairbanks is this guy and they keep him for next year and they keep everyone else there, which I doubt they do. But if they do, I mean, that bullpen 1 through 8 is insane. Like that's, I mean, their rotation needs some work, but if they keep these guys in the bullpen that they have under contract for next year, yeah, it's rivals the Padres, probably better than the Padres, who will be losing Robert Suarez. So yeah.
All right. Speaking of Robert Suarez, he is our next riser, and I assume that he continues to rise because he keeps finding success, and on top of that, he's still getting the bulk of the saves in San Diego with Mason Miller present.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I thought that Mason Miller would cut into his saves maybe at least a little bit, like, but there's been really no sign of that at all, and not only that, but Suarez has been pitching better since Miller came over, and I have a couple theories, and it's similar to Fairbanks too. With that deep, these guys pitching at the end of the game, they might not be the best relievers on their team, but is it just the fact that they're pitching in the ninth and like these lineups have gone through the rest of that bullpen and they're just like, I don't know, worn out or what? It's like, or is it they're just upping their game because they know the guys in front of them are so talented? It's one way or another. These two guys. Again, might not be the most talented reliever in their bullpen, but they have been really good since the All-Star break. So it makes me think like Suarez, we're talking next season when he's a free agent, where he ends up. I feel like he's going to be still a fade for me because depending on the situation, depends on where he lands. But I don't know if he can replicate what he's doing in San Diego and somewhere else. It depends on the situation, obviously, but. That's more for our off-season shows at this point. Yeah.
Definitely. And our last riser is Bryan Abreu, who has taken over the ninth inning for the Astros with Josh Hader on the IL. He's a riser because he's gotten all the save opportunities and he's had an incredible season, 1.49 ERA, 37% strikeout rate for Bryan Abreu.
Yeah, and I think more that we get more of the Hader news, and like we talked about with Sousa being out, I feel like it just more and more solidifies Abreu as the closer for the rest of the season there in Houston. And he's gotten all of the chances. I think him being set in stone as the closer there is easily a top 5 or 6 closer the rest of the way. Not really concerned with, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be, an elite option for them. So that's my moving him up, is just that there's no, because Okert's really just a left-handed guy, he's an old school loogie who's been able to hold his own against righties this season.
Mm-hmm.
And King's not really in the same level as those two. So without Sousa, without Hader, Abreu stands alone really as the best closer and only closer option in Houston.
All right. And as those guys rise up the ranks, others have to fall to accommodate them. So our first faller is Cade Smith, who similar situation to Abreu. And I say similar and not the same because he got the closer role by much different means, with Emmanuel Clase going on the restricted list as he is under investigation for betting on baseball.
Wasn't there supposed to be something about that too? Like, wasn't well, he was put on the restricted list till the end of August, and then I'm guessing it was probably pushed out longer, but I don't know if I've seen anything officially stating that.
We still got a few more days in August, so it's possible that they come to a resolution, but I'm sure this is going to go into the off season. Yeah, we're not going to see Clase back this year, but Cade Smith has taken over the closer role and then has forgotten how dope he was. And so maybe there was something about him not being the closer that allowed him to be super good, but now he's taken over the closer role. He's been pretty mid since getting the bulk of save opportunities in Cleveland.
He looked better the other night. So since closing time came out on Tuesday, he's looked better, thankfully. Because the velo was starting to drop, and he had a couple blown saves in a row. You have to wonder. I mean, since July he hasn't been the same guy really, and I just he had a lot of usage last year, a lot of high usage this season. I wonder if he's just wearing down a little bit. So I know Cleveland's still kind of like fighting for playoff contention. They're realistically out of it, but at some point, I wonder if Cade Smith gets shut down, and he was dealing with injuries in July and never made it to the IL. Just wonder if it's in their best interest to give him some time off. And Hunter Gaddis has been pitching really well lately. It's from the left side, but Eric Sabrowski has like a closer type, stat line for this season and last season. So they have other guys. But Cade Smith's down this week, but so far this week he has looked good in the last 2 days. So he might be back up next week.
All right. Our next faller is Daniel Palencia, who has maintained the closer role in Chicago, but hasn't been as elite as he was in the first half of the season. His numbers in the second half are still pretty solid, 2.70 ERA and a strikeout rate of 27%, but it's a clear fall off from his incredible first half. Is that why he's falling down the ranks for you?
Yeah, another guy who he's been closing out games still, but it's been a little bit more shaky than it was earlier in the season. Again, a younger guy, not a ton of innings. I do wonder if like fatigue's setting in, and all of a sudden this year he starts throwing 100 plus too. I don't know if that's again, fatigue factor. Now that he's at 47 2/3 innings on the year, but I think he's going to be safe for the rest of the year. But that's not to say they don't have options. They have Brad Keller, who's been awesome lately and pretty much the whole season. Andrew Kittredge has been good for them. So those two guys more than capable of closing out games. Not the ideal closers, but if Palencia does continue to struggle a little bit or misses some time, they have options in Keller and Kittredge.
All right. And our last faller is David Bednar, who has been the Yankees closer ever since the trade deadline, but he hasn't gotten many save opportunities in August, recording just 3 saves this month. And on top of that, he's still pitching well, but there's so much competition in the Bronx. Is you on the same wavelength for moving Bednar down your ranks?
Yeah, I think it's just the competition factor more so than anything Bednar's done. And he's been pretty good as the closer. He's had a couple issues, but more good than bad, obviously, in New York. But I mean, I don't know how many chances he's going to get, but Devin Williams, since losing the job again, has been like, he just had another perfect inning tonight with 3 strikeouts again, and pitching in the 8th inning. So he's been the best he's ever been over the past like 3 weeks. So maybe maybe they just need to keep him in the 8th inning. Maybe it's like, you know what, he's great here, let's not change anything. But I don't know. We'll see if Bednar. I think this just that Bednar does have like one bad outing, and then all of a sudden it's like, Williams has been so good lately, Weaver's been so good lately. Like, people will start calling for a change. So I think you're fine with Bednar. I'm only moved. I think I moved. He's still in like the top 10, 12 range. So it's not like he fell drastically, but just the competition there. Something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. All right, that will wrap up our 3 up, 3 down section. To recap, our risers were Pete Fairbanks, Robert Suarez, and Bryan Abreu, and our fallers were Cade Smith, Daniel Palencia, and David Bednar. Next, we'll head into our main topic and discuss some second half standouts, but first we're going to take another break here on In the Pen. And we're back. Jake Crumpler here with Rick Graham on In the Pen. We're heading into our main topic, discussing some second half standouts, looking at the top performers after the All-Star break. We've got a few bullpens that stand out, and then we'll discuss some individuals, but we'll start off with the Rays bullpen, which has been absolutely incredible, featuring 4 guys that we'll go through and discuss in depth. And I think we should start with Pete Fairbanks. We already talked about him a little bit, but he has been incredible in the second half. 3.38 ERA, 36% strikeout rate, 0 walks, giving him a 2.37 xFIP, and most notably the best Sierra in baseball, minimum 10 innings pitched, with a 1.76 mark there. Pete Fairbanks has been super good. Do you think there's something to be said about the support that he's received in that bullpen? Yeah. And on top of that, is it surprising that he's doing it as he's surpassed his career high in innings pitched? I know. That was something we sort of talked about for so long, about how 45 1/3 was his peak the past 2 seasons, and now he's blown past that and he's getting better.
He's gonna finally. I don't want to. He's gonna get past 50 innings finally, which is. And not only that, but he's peaking at the right time. Yeah, I love seeing this from Pete Fairbanks. And I mean, it's crazy seeing how well you set up Baker and Clevenger. I mean, Clevenger's been great the whole year. Baker's was really good in Baltimore, and then scuffled a little bit before coming over to Tampa Bay. Had a couple tough outings in Tampa Bay to start, and now he's been great. And like this list of 4 guys doesn't even include Griffin Jax, who, if Griffin Jax is getting lucky and not unlucky like he's been this year, he's, we're talking about him as one of the top relievers in baseball, and Mason Montgomery, who arguably has more upside than any other reliever in baseball. So there's, like we talked about the Tampa Bay bullpen, it's going to be something we keep an eye on all off season. Because right now it's really fun. And, Fairbanks being, there's no walks since the All-Star breaks, just crazy stuff from him. So I hope I think he stays in Tampa. I think they've had a chance to trade him and they haven't. I think there's something. I know he's someone they really, cherish as far as like being the team, like the way he holds, as respect in the locker room and just the organization in general. So I wonder if he maybe stays around there, signs some sort of team friendly-ish deal. But they have plenty of options if he doesn't stay there too to close out games.
Definitely. And you mentioned Uceta, who's probably the first option to take over as the closer role. He's been the top setup man to Fairbanks for, at least the last a year and a half. And he struggled a bit earlier in the season, but he's been maybe the best reliever in baseball in the second half. He was the first name that I put on this list. 0.45 ERA, nearly 40% strikeout rate, and a 2.45 xFIP in the second half for Uceta. Just incredible work for him. Pretty notable too. He's just been able to get a ton of swinging strikes. I'm pretty sure he is sixth on the swinging strikes leaderboard, trailing only Josh Hader, Mason Miller, Bryan Abreu, Devin Williams, Jeremiah Estrada. That's a pretty good list of names to be trailing. So Uceta's been really good, following up last year's second half breakout with another second half resurgence.
Yeah, I wonder if it's, all these Rays guys are kind of figuring things out. Maybe they're figuring out, how to pitch in that ballpark, because it was obviously a struggle in the first half. And it's not only just a super hitter friendly ballpark, but now they're outdoors. All of a sudden, like, their pitch movements are changing a little bit from that. So it's been, I don't know, it's been a little bit of a struggle, obviously, for their pitching staff, but maybe this is just them figuring things out in the second half. And that's why you're seeing Uceta finally, being the guy we saw last year, Fairbanks, having this type of resurgence. But yeah, I mean, Garrett Clevenger has been so good all year. I've been better, I guess, in the second half than in the first half, but he's been consistent for them. He's been the one consistent reliever they've had.
Right. Clevenger has not allowed a run in the second half and has paired that with a 31% strikeout rate. So that's pretty dope. And then you also mentioned Bryan Baker, who has a 4.02 ERA in the second half, which isn't spectacular, but he does lead this grouping of Rays relievers with a 0.77 whip. And he's also got a 36% strikeout rate and has limited the walks at a 5% rate. So Bryan Baker and Garrett Clevenger, guys who aren't really at the top of that bullpen leaderboard, with names like Fairbanks, Uceta, and Jax around there, but they're quietly having incredible seasons as well. And both of these guys will be around for the Rays next year. So they do have a great core to build off of as they figure out who's going to be pitching the relief innings next year.
Yeah, I mean, Baker has the higher ERA of the group, but he has the lowest xFIP, so a little unlucky there. Again, could just be getting used to that ballpark and how it plays. Clevenger, I think, has 1 year left, maybe. He's the one guy I wonder if they look to move this offseason. Just coming off a career year, tough lefty. I feel like, almost every team would be interested in him. So it feels like the type of guy the Rays might move on from. But then again, who's the lefty who steps in for Clevenger? I know Montgomery obviously is an option, but Montgomery is more of I feel like they want more of a, lefty to get lefties out guy. And I think Montgomery's just like a lefty who can kind of get both sides out, just throws hard. But, they probably want some sort of lefty that, can get lefties out with good breaking stuff.
They'll find somebody we've never heard of before.
They got like Ian Seymour or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
They have options there.
That's right. Yeah, we talked about him, I think, last week or something. He's very Ryan Yarbrough-esque, not a big hard thrower, but he does have a good changeup. So maybe Seymour is that option next year to be the lefty one-out guy. All right, we'll move on from the Rays bullpen and discuss the Angels bullpen, which we were already harping on how exciting this bullpen could be next year with Robert Stephenson having a full season and Ben Joyce returning from injury. But there's a couple other arms that will be returning to the club as well that could or have done a really good job in the second half to get us excited for what they could do next year, starting with Ryan Zeferjahn, who, as you mentioned, has had a crazy roller coaster season. He was so good in the first couple months, maybe just the first month, and then was so terrible throughout the middle of the season. But ever since the All-Star break, he's been dominant. Zeferjahn has a 1.80 ERA, a 40.3% strikeout rate, and a 2.62 xFIP. He's also got the third best stuff plus in baseball at 126, and he leads the group of relievers we'll be talking about today. So Ryan Zeferjahn looking like a future dominant reliever. It's just going to be about consistency for him moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about guys post All-Star break, so yeah, I got to look into he has had the definition of a roller coaster season because we were talking about him in like May as like one of the biggest breakout relievers in baseball, like potentially taking over the closer role, and then he just fell apart really fast. Strikeout rates came down, everything came down, and now he's back to being just this dominant reliever again. So Ryan Zeferjahn, I hope the fact that he's able to get back to where he was in the first quarter of the season gives me hope that this is actually real. This can be who he is. It wasn't just a flash in the pan at one point, but he's gotten back to where he was. And yeah, I mean, it's only since the All-Star break, but 15 innings is a decent sample size, especially from a reliever. They typically get 50 plus at most. So just seeing that strikeout rate being back over 40% is awesome to see. And yeah, the stuff plus third highest stuff plus since the All-Star break amongst relievers, crazy. Hopefully their walk rate can come down a little bit, but yeah, in that Angels bullpen where we don't have, we have Stephenson and Joyce, who are the biggest injury liabilities, in any bullpen, let alone the Angels bullpen. Zeferjahn might be the guy who come out of this thing next season as the closer, depending on what else they add. Because Reed Detmers, I mean, he's been awesome this year, but I do wonder. I feel like he deserves a chance to start again. I don't know why the Angels wouldn't at least think about it or consider it in the spring. But yeah, I really think Reed Detmers needs to be reconsidered for the rotation. So that's why I don't think he'll be a reliever next year. I feel like we've seen a lot of, especially we've seen, AJ Puck didn't really transition back well, but Chris Bubich did. There's a couple guys. I feel like Detmers is more in that Bubich camp where he can make things work in the rotation. And it's not like the Angels don't need rotation depth.
Right. Detmers is dope, and I think he should get another chance in the rotation, but he's been great in the second half. A 4.02 ERA is not spectacular, but he does have a near 40% strikeout rate and a 2.06 xFIP. That's the fourth best in baseball in the second half. So Reed Detmers, super dope from the left side for the Angels. They got a bunch of exciting arms. There's something to be said, though, about Detmers has really never had success as a starter. I think he should get another shot, maybe with this newfound confidence from the bullpen. He can figure things out in the rotation. There's always the chance that they start him out in the rotation and then he sucks again. And then they're like, okay, like you're done. You're going to the bullpen. Yeah.
He's a good reliever. He can make things work there. So he deserves at least one more chance, especially, like I said, this Angels rotation isn't exactly, deep. And yeah, I don't think they're going to make enough additions this offseason to make Detmers not, get a chance. Unless they want him to be their closer, then okay, maybe because you give him that role, but
they don't really have the lefty depth to pull that off.
Yes, I know. I mean, Brock Burke's back for one more year, but that's really all you got. So yeah, we'll see. I hope to see him stretched out next year. He'll be a very and this is the thing because of the success of Bubic, and I know he got shut down early, but you still got a really great first half from him, and it was worth the pick wherever you ended up with Chris Bubic. So I feel like Detmers could be in that category next year.
Right. And it's sort of like, or he could be AJ Puck, where they try him out on the rotation, then he's back in the bullpen.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, still it's still worth the shot for me. But yeah, I feel like even Puck, it's like, yeah, it didn't work out in the rotation, but he went back to being a dominant reliever. So he deserves a chance, and then we'll make it work from there. But yeah, it's at least good to see him having success at some, in some, role, because he's been very frustrating to watch as a starter because the stuff's always been there. But yeah, I mean, obviously a change of scenery could be the answer, but yeah, maybe just the role change is all that was needed to get him back to, being where he needs to be.
Totally. All right. The last bullpen duo we'll discuss is the White Sox, Jordan Leasure and Grant Taylor. They've had very different second halves, but both have been successful in different regards. Leasure has a 4.30 ERA, which is not great, but he does have a 37% strikeout rate and a 3.23 xFIP. And then Taylor's looked even worse, a 6.10 ERA, but his 2.02 xFIP has been one of the best in baseball, and it's paired with a 36% strikeout rate. So definitely with both of these guys, the White Sox have somebody to hang their hat on as being the closer for next season. I'm under the impression that Grant Taylor's probably going to get a shot in the rotation, as he never really got that chance this year after coming up through the minors as a starter. But both of these guys show incredible stuff with incredible upside, thanks to their ability to rack up the punch outs.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, we talked about Grant Taylor a little bit before this, and yeah, I think he'll get a chance to start again. But this could be a fun duo with Leasure and Taylor, both young guys who Taylor throws hard. Leisure's more of a, has a really good breaking ball. I was leaning towards Leasure as the closer here. If they're gonna make one guy the closer, I think Leisure's earned it so far. Obviously, Taylor's had some bad luck, but that's still a 6.10 ERA. It's tough to make that the closer, and the walk rate is high, a little bit higher for him than Leasure. But it's just good to see, the strikeout rates for these guys. Leasure, he was so hyped up last March, and then just didn't work out for him his first stint in the majors. To see him come back this year, it's at least gives us some upside, gives us some optimism for next year. I think Taylor probably, again, when talking about like Detmers being in the rotation, I think Taylor deserves a shot to start. But I think his best role might be in the bullpen. But yeah, I still would want to see him. You see how things work with him as a starter. There's no reason for the White Sox. They're getting better. They're showing there's signs of life there that things are going to turn around. There's some hope finally. But they're still, like, next year's not going to be the year for them. So yeah, I would hope to see Taylor get a chance to start games, which, yeah, that could open the door for Leasure just being the sole closer next season, or maybe we just go another year in Chicago with no set permanent closer.
Right, because that worked so well this year.
I know, it's been a nightmare. I know it's not like it works for them. It's like the one place I guess you could argue it works is like Miami being able to just kind of mix and match. But like it almost rarely doesn't work, and there's a reason for that, because you don't have a set closer, because you don't have a set you don't have a guy who's the set closer. But I think of the options that the White Sox have, Leasure makes the most sense. So his August has been awesome. It's been great to see this breakout. Hopefully he finishes strong in September, and then maybe he's the favorite heading into next season.
All right, now we'll talk about some individual performances in the second half that have been spectacular. And we'll start off with a guy that we've rarely talked positively about. I don't know if we ever have. Kyle Finnegan does have a 3.94 ERA in the second half, but it comes with a 32% strikeout rate and a 2.14 xFIP, as he's gotten the majority of save opportunities for the Tigers too, obviously splitting some with Will Vest, but I've never seen Kyle Finnegan strike out this many batters. I've never seen him look this good. Is it something that you're believing in? I mean, it sort of gets me excited, and honestly, it's probably going to earn him a pretty decent contract this offseason.
I mean, if you've listened to us, we've always been a big Kyle Finnegan, fan club here. I mean, this is I obviously root for all these guys, and seeing Finnegan, this is awesome to see. This strikeout rate, the walk rate still low. I know it's because I remember like when we were looking at like the Tigers need to add strikeouts to their bullpen at the deadline. And it's like they had Finnegan. He's not a big strikeout guy, and now he's got a 32.3% strikeout rate all of a sudden. So yeah, I haven't gotten a chance. I haven't dove into what's going on. I got to do that. I want to see what Detroit's been doing with him. But it's one of those situations like Detroit and Kansas City in general. That's what I said in last October. It's like if whoever ends up in Detroit or Kansas City, it's they get an automatic boost because you're facing those AL Central teams, and you pretty favorable ballpark for pitchers. So I feel like Finnegan, just to change the scenery to a different team. I mean, he's been with Washington for forever. And I feel like even I know Robert Garcia struggled lately, but he did get a huge boost in Texas. Like I feel like there's something about the Washington pitchers going elsewhere where they start pitching better. And it's not like Finnegan's always had a pretty good fastball, so there was always something to build on with that. So yeah, like you said, he's probably earned himself a decent contract now. Probably another chance to close this offseason if he wants it as well.
Back to the Nationals.
And I don't. That would just that would break. I know I can't deal with that. That would just everyone loses in that case. It's move on. You look better somewhere else. I mean, 2.14 xFIP and a 32.3% K rate. I just never thought, and it's 16 inning sample, so never thought we'd see that from Kyle Finnegan. But all it took was leaving Washington.
Finally,
yeah.
All right. Next, we'll head to Cincinnati and discuss Tony Santillan, who had a breakout season last year. And I was probably at the head of the pack for pushing for Santillan to be the closer for the Reds this year. It did not happen. And then also he looked not great in the first half, but in the second half, he's looked much more like the second half Santillan we saw last year. That got me excited. 1.69 ERA, 36% strikeout rate, and a 3.02 xFIP from Santillan. Pretty dope numbers there. He's one of the names in that Reds bullpen that gets me excited for what they could bring out next year with guys like Zach Maxwell and Luis May, and even like Yosfer Zulueta and Connor Phillips. There's a bunch of interesting names there, and I think Santillan is probably going to be leading that pack because he's had the most experience pitching high leverage and has looked so good here in the second half.
Yeah, and I know we talked about like Zach Maxwell being a potential closer next year, but yeah, obviously Santillan is like the favorite in the clubhouse, and the only thing I will say is that it seemed like we talked about this at the beginning of the season with Francona, like named him as Francona's kind of keeping him as like the high leverage guy and the guy you can trust at any situation. So I wonder if that's something going into next year. It's like, okay, You can slide Maxwell into the Pagan role. Santillan stays as the high leverage, fireman. And maybe that's how they play things out. But yeah, this is, Santillan was great. He was good in the first half, but the strikeout numbers weren't there. But the ratios were fine. And now, the strikeouts are back to where they were like last year and why we were hyped up about them earlier in the year. And it's, the velo has been a little bit better, but nothing drastic. The strikeout rate, has just, been improved, and it's come with a little bit of the walk rates up too. But I mean, ideally we want to see their walk rate closer to 10% or under, but with a 36% K rate, I think we'll live with the 11.5% walk rate.
Definitely. Next, we have another failed starter turned reliever, and it's Brad Keller, who's had an incredible breakout campaign that's gotten even better in the second half as he is not allowed to run across 16 innings. He's produced a 0.44 whip, which has got to be the best in baseball in the second half. And that also comes with a 34.5% strikeout rate and a 2.36 xFIP. And to top things off, Keller has a 0.91 win probability added with leverage index. And that's the second in baseball. So if you don't know what that stat means, if you don't know the context, he's the second best in that regard. So Brad Keller has looked really good for the Cubs.
Yeah, I feel like it's like long story short, I like it better than WAR for relievers if we're looking at some sort of way to.
Yeah, Jay Jaffe was using it. I was just reading an article about the Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah, especially I like it for relievers. Obviously, the leverage index plays a factor. We're talking about high leverage guys, and Keller not allowing an earned run since the All-Star break with that whip under 5. I mean, yeah, he's been just awesome. I mean, what a find for the Cubs. And like we said with Palencia, this is the reason why I'm a little worried about Palencia, because you have a guy like Brad Keller pitching this well. It's not like Palencia, they weren't even expecting anything from this year. And, he's given them a great, 2/3 of the season, more than that. But if you need, someone to get high leverage outs, moving towards the playoffs, I wonder if Keller starts working his way into some saves, or, at least he's locked down the 8th inning role for himself. So, yeah, between him and even Kittredge has been really good as well. He's on a couple of these, leaderboards. So yeah, those two guys have been awesome in August for Chicago. And yeah, that's why there's a little nervousness with Palencia, but Palencia hasn't exactly done anything to lose his job. More so, Keller and Kittredge have just, made themselves more worthy in Holds leagues.
Yeah, and that's huge considering the losses of Ryan Presley and Porter Hodge, who
nothing
were not
Ryan,
great this year.
Getting nothing from either of those. I mean, remember we were talking about who's going to get the most saves, Ryan Presley or Porter Hodge?
Neither. Daniel Palencia.
Season, and those two guys did absolutely nothing. And yeah, you got Palencia, Keller, and now Kittredge. Yeah, and Tealbar and Pomeranz. I mean, it's just not the guys you were expecting to produce in that Cubs bullpen.
All right. The A's traded away their closer at the deadline, Mason Miller, and that opened up an opportunity for Sean Newcomb. He hasn't really gotten many saves, just one on the season, but he's been really good since going to the A's, and in the second half especially so. A 0.45 ERA across 20 innings pitched for Newcomb. That also comes with a 30% strikeout rate and a 2.74 xFIP. Newcomb went from the Red Sox to the A's. Are you feeling like you missing out there?
I mean, yeah, I would say Steven Matz has been a nice replacement, but yeah, Newcomb just being left, I mean, just kind of, left out there on waivers. I don't think, they tried him in a starting role, and that obviously wasn't going to work, but there's something about it, and I think Nick was talking about it, just something about lefties this year in general. Like, lefties are all having success. It's for whatever reason. I don't know if he had a reason for it. I just know.
No, there's an article somebody posted on The Athletic, but it's it's paywalled. I couldn't read it.
I mean, lefties are all having success, and not just starters, but bullpen, arms too. It's been the year of the lefty. And even a guy like Sean
Season
Newcomb,
of the Southpaw.
Season of the Southpaw, yeah. And I wish we saw some more saves from Newcomb. I think he deserves a chance to be the closer there. I think it makes sense for him to get save chances, but obviously he can pitch, more than one inning at a time. So that does change things a little bit. But even, I mean, he is like the veteran of that bullpen. He might not be the oldest guy, but he's been around that, in the MLB the longest, at least. So yeah, I save plus holds. Newcomb's still a fun target, but save only. It's like I'm still waiting waiting for him to either take that role or whatever. He's been the best option they've had, so he deserves the closer role. And again, you talk about a guy who probably had not a lot of hopes for next year. Now he's worked himself into a guaranteed contract and maybe multi-year deal at this point. The way he's been pitching out of the bullpen.
All right. Next, we've got Clarke, who has come out of nowhere. This is a guy who pitched for the Diamondbacks and the Royals and then didn't pitch at all last year in 2024 as he just spent the minors pitching for the Diamondbacks. And then the Royals brought him back this year, and he must have learned something while pitching for the Brewers organization because he looks much different this year, has been absolutely incredible in the second half as well. 0.52 ERA, 0.46 whip, a near 33% strikeout rate, 3% walk rate, just incredible numbers, 2.25 xFIP, and most notably, he's first in baseball in win probability added over leverage index. So Clarke in that Royals bullpen has not gotten many high leverage opportunities, just 1 save and 3 holds on the year, but he's looked like the best reliever in Kansas City in the second half.
Yeah, and this is, a team that lost Hunter Harvey. Lucas Erceg's been fine, but not the guy that they really, had bought, not the guy that they got last year that they were hoping to be this dominant setup man. John Schreiber is very hit or miss. So yeah, like they needed a guy like Clarke, or they need someone else to step up here. And I know, the Royals are again thin, they have a chance at the playoffs still. They're not technically out. They're 3 games back now. They've been playing better, but Clarke's been a huge, option for them to bridge the gap to Carlos Estevez in the 9th. I feel like he has some stretches. This isn't the first time he's had a stretch like this. I feel like maybe last year or something. I've seen his name pop up occasionally. Yeah, he's got some interesting stretches like this before. But yeah, I don't know if as far as like holds leagues go, it's 17 innings, which is for a reliever, it's a sample, it's a decent sample size, but it's, for someone with his track record, probably want to give it a little more time. But yeah, this run he's on right now has been, phenomenal. I have to look in a little bit more to see what's making this tick. Cause he's not a big velo guy. More of a, like you said, he was like a, 4th, 5th starter type. With Arizona and, now just making it work in the bullpen in Kansas City. So, yeah, with Harvey out and Schreiber being Schreiber, I feel like Clarke could work his way at least into more holds and, give you some hope in holds leagues.
All right. And lastly, we've got Adrian Morejon, who has done an incredible job of standing out in a stacked bullpen, maybe having the most impressive season there, and building off his all-star selection. He's had an even better second half. Morejon has a 1.59 ERA, a 0.71 whip, and a 34% strikeout rate. He's got the second lowest xFIP in baseball in the second half, 1.99, and he's 4th in CSW at 35.6. So Morejon has been absolutely dominant, and it's crazy that he's not considered the best reliever, or could maybe not even considered a top 3 reliever in the Padres bullpen, because they got names like Suarez and Mason Miller, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, and even randos like David Morgan having great seasons.
Yeah. What's like Nick's thing? Morejon is dope, and you should feel dope for rostering him or whatever it is. That's basically that's all. I mean, he's been he was always a favorite of mine, or he was just like an awesome reliever going into the year. I'd never expected him to be this good. This is just, especially in this bullpen, there's so much competition. But yeah, he's still been able to get a bunch of holds. He's even, I know Miller's there now, but even he picked up a save last week. He's got a couple saves on the year. So, altogether, all things said, even in standard leagues that don't count holds, Morejon's been very useful based on the ratio help, strikeout help, and the occasional save or a win too. So just all around, that's a good way to end this segment, because he's been one of the best. I think I've had him in the top 5 my holds list, and it's been pretty consistent for a while now. He's been pretty steady.
Yeah. Great season from Adrian Morejon. Was definitely a bit confused by his all-star selection, but he's making it look much deserved by his incredible second half performance. I'll recap these names really quick because I love just reading names super fast. So the guys that we talked about is some of the second half standouts were Edwin Uceta, Pete Fairbanks, Brian Baker, Garrett Clevenger, Ryan Zeferjahn, Reed Detmers, Jordan Leasure, Grant Taylor, Kyle Finnegan, Tony Santillan, Brad Keller, Sean Newcomb, Taylor Clarke, and Adrian Morejon. But that will do it for this episode of In the Pen. Rick, why don't you go ahead and plug your social media and anything else you're working on?
Yeah, you can find me on socials at I am Rick Graham. Still, we got one more month left in the regular season here, so still putting out 3 articles a week with closing time on Tuesday, hold up on Thursday, and save plus holds on Friday. It's been a little bit of a busy month, but I'll be back making sure there's a lot of notes for those moving forward as we wrap up the season. And I know fantasy playoffs start. Some started this week. Most it's next week or the week after. So we're getting into the nitty gritty now.
Yeah. All right. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. You can follow the pod at In the Pen Pod. You can find all of my work at crumplerbaseball.com. More specifically, you can catch me on the First Pitch podcast Monday through Thursday, and you can see more of my work over at baseballhq.com. But that will do it for this episode 134 of In the Pen. We'll talk to you all next week.